Have you ever felt invisible to a woman you're interested in? Like you're shouting into the void, but she can't hear a word you're saying? That feeling of being ignored can be frustrating, even devastating. But what if I told you that this situation could be your greatest opportunity for personal growth and attraction? Welcome to How to Act When a Woman Ignores You, Destroy Her Ego. Today we're going to explore how to not only handle being ignored, but how to use it as a catalyst to become the best version of yourself. Before we dive into strategies, it's crucial to understand why a woman might ignore you. There are three main reasons, and recognizing which one you're dealing with is key to responding effectively. Firstly, she might genuinely be busy. In our fast-paced world, many people juggle multiple responsibilities. She could be balancing a demanding job, studies, family obligations, and personal life. Sometimes responding to messages or making plans simply slips her mind. It's not that you're not important, it's that there are only so many hours in a day. For example, let's say you've been texting Sarah, a law student who also works part-time. You've sent her a message asking about her weekend plans, but it's been hours without a reply. Before you jump to conclusions, consider that she might be in the middle of a crucial study session for her bar exam or dealing with a work emergency. Secondly, she might be intentionally creating distance to see how you react. This is a common test that some women use, consciously or unconsciously, to assess your level of interest and confidence. It's like a game of emotional chicken. She's pulling back to see if you'll chase her or if you have the self-assurance to give her space. Imagine you've been chatting with Emily for a few weeks. Suddenly, her responses become less frequent and shorter. She might be testing to see if you'll start bombarding her with messages, or if you can handle the reduced communication without losing your cool. Lastly, and it's important to be honest here, she might simply not be interested. Maybe she doesn't feel a connection, or she's interested in someone else, or she's just not in a place where she wants to pursue any kind of relationship. So, how can you tell which reason it is? The key is to observe her behavior patterns. If she always replies late but still gives full, engaged responses, she might actually be busy. If she occasionally responds quickly and enthusiastically, then goes silent for long periods, she might be testing you. And if she never initiates contact and only gives short, unenthusiastic replies, well, that might be a sign that she's not interested. Now that we understand the possible reasons behind her behavior, let's talk about how to react initially. This is crucial because your first response sets the tone for everything that follows. The biggest mistake men make when they're ignored is panicking and bombarding her with messages. When you're feeling ignored, there's a temptation to reach out repeatedly, to try to force a response. But trust me, this is the fastest way to appear desperate and insecure. For instance, let's say you've sent Jessica a message asking her out for coffee. An hour passes, then two, then a whole day. You might be tempted to send follow-up messages like, "Hey, did you get my last message? Are you there? Why are you ignoring me? Fine, I guess you're not interested." This cascade of messages screams desperation and is likely to push her away even further. The second major mistake is getting angry and accusatory. Maybe you feel hurt, and that hurt turns into anger. You might be tempted to send a message saying something like, "Why are you ignoring me? I thought we had a connection." Or worse, you might lash out with something like, "Fine, be that way. I didn't like you anyway." Let me be clear. There's no faster way to push a woman away than by showing your anger or resentment. So, what should you do in those crucial first 24 hours of being ignored? First and foremost, stay calm. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your value as a person doesn't depend on someone else's response or lack thereof. You were a complete, worthwhile individual before you met her, and you still are, regardless of how she acts. Next, give her space. If you've sent a message and haven't received a reply, resist the urge to follow up. No double texting, no, "Hey, did you get my last message?" Just wait. Use this time to focus on yourself and your activities. Hit the gym, work on a project, hang out with friends. Not only does this keep you from obsessing, but it also ensures that when and if she does respond, you'll have interesting things to talk about. But what if you encounter her in person during this time? Maybe you run into her at a party or see her at work. The key here is to act normal and friendly, but not overly enthusiastic. Let's say you see her at a social gathering. You might approach her casually and say something like, "Hey, Sarah, nice to see you here. Great party, isn't it?" Then, after a brief, pleasant exchange, continue mingling with other people. This approach shows that you're polite and confident enough to acknowledge her, but not so invested that her lack of response has affected you. Now we come to the most crucial part of our strategy: increasing your own value. This is the secret sauce, the magic formula that can turn the entire situation around. Why is this the most effective strategy? Because it not only has the potential to attract her attention, but also improves your life overall. It's a win-win situation. Even if things don't work out with this particular woman, you'll have become a better, more attractive version of yourself. So, how do we go about increasing your value? Let's break it down into specific actionable steps. First, focus on personal growth. This means actively working to become a more interesting, knowledgeable, and skilled individual. Start learning something new. It could be a language, an instrument, a sport, or a craft. The specific skill doesn't matter as much as the fact that you're expanding your horizons. For example, let's say you decide to learn Italian. Not only does this make you more interesting, imagine the conversations you could have about Italian culture, art, and cuisine, but it also shows that you're ambitious and committed to self-improvement. Plus, it opens up new opportunities. Maybe you'll plan a trip to Italy, giving you exciting future plans to talk about. Second, expand your social circle. Humans are social creatures, and we're naturally attracted to people who are well-liked by others. Attend events, join clubs, or volunteer for causes you care about. The more people you meet, the more opportunities you create for yourself. For instance, you could join a local hiking club. This not only helps you stay fit, but also introduces you to new people who share your interests. When she sees you posting photos of group hikes or hears you talking about your new friends, it naturally increases your perceived value. You become the guy who knows everyone, the one people gravitate towards at social gatherings. Third, work on your physical appearance. Now, I'm not saying you need to transform into a fitness model overnight, but taking care of your body shows that you respect yourself and have discipline. Hit the gym, update your wardrobe, get a new haircut. Looking good makes you feel good, and that confidence is incredibly attractive. For example, you might start a new workout routine. Not only will this improve your physical appearance, but the endorphins from exercise will boost your mood and confidence. When you feel good about yourself, it shows in your interactions with others. Fourth, achieve some personal goals. Set targets for yourself and work consistently to achieve them. Whether it's running a marathon, starting a side business, or mastering a difficult skill, accomplishing something you've set out to do is incredibly attractive. It shows drive, dedication, and the ability to follow through, all qualities that are highly valued in a partner. Let me share a real-life example to illustrate how powerful this strategy can be. I had a client, let's call him Tom. Tom had been ignored by a girl he really liked, and initially he fell into the common trap of constantly checking his phone and feeling miserable. But after we talked, he decided to focus on himself instead. Tom had always wanted to learn Spanish, so he signed up for classes. He joined a hiking club, meeting new people and getting in shape at the same time. He even set himself the goal of running a half marathon, something he'd always thought was beyond him. 6 months later, Tom ran into the same girl at a mutual friend's party. But this time, things were different. Tom was fitter, more confident, and had a wealth of interesting experiences to talk about. The girl was amazed at how much he had changed. In fact, she approached him to chat, curious about all the new things he was doing. The irony? By this point, Tom was so fulfilled by his new life that he wasn't even sure if he was still interested in her. He had options now, and the confidence to explore them. Now that you've worked on increasing your value, it's time to talk about how to communicate effectively when you do interact with her. Remember, the goal here isn't to manipulate or play games, but to showcase the best version of yourself. First, let's talk about body language. Stand tall, maintain eye contact, and smile confidently. Your nonverbal cues often speak louder than words. When you enter a room, do it with purpose. Walk with confidence, shoulders back, head high. This doesn't mean strutting around like you own the place, but rather moving with a quiet assurance that naturally draws people's attention. For example, the next time you're at a social event, practice entering the room with confidence. Take a deep breath before you walk in, stand tall, and scan the room with a relaxed, friendly expression. You'll likely find that people respond to you more positively right from the start. When starting a conversation, use open-ended questions that require more than a yes or no answer. For example, instead of asking, "Did you have a good weekend?" try, "What was the highlight of your weekend?" This encourages a more engaging conversation and shows that you're genuinely interested in her thoughts and experiences. Master the art of storytelling. People are naturally drawn to good stories. When sharing an experience, focus on the emotions and the journey, not just the facts. For instance, if you're talking about a recent trip, don't just list the places you visited. Describe the moment you watched the sunset from a mountaintop, how it made you feel, and what you realized about life in that moment. Here's an example. Instead of saying, "I went hiking in the Rockies last month," try something like this. "Last month, I challenged myself to hike in the Rockies. On the final day, I reached the summit just as the sun was setting. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and in that moment, looking out over the vast landscape, I felt a sense of accomplishment and peace I'd never experienced before. It made me realize how small our daily problems are in the grand scheme of things. This creates a more vivid, engaging conversation that she's more likely to be drawn into. Remember to listen actively as well. When she's speaking, give her your full attention. Nod, maintain eye contact, and ask follow-up questions that show you've been really listening. This makes her feel valued and understood, which is incredibly attractive. Remember, the goal isn't just to get her attention. It's to become a person who naturally attracts attention. Build a life that's inherently interesting. Develop hobbies and passions that genuinely excite you. Whether it's photography, rock climbing, or volunteering at an animal shelter, pursue activities that make your eyes light up when you talk about them. For instance, if you've always been interested in photography, invest in a good camera and start exploring your city through a lens. Not only will you develop a new skill, but you'll also have unique perspectives to share and interesting visuals to show. Expand your social network. Surround yourself with diverse, interesting people. Not only does this make your life more fulfilling, but it also provides endless conversation topics and opportunities for growth. Plus, having a rich social life makes you more attractive. It shows that you're well-liked and capable of maintaining relationships. Create memorable experiences. Travel, try new things, step out of your comfort zone. These experiences shape you as a person and give you fascinating stories to share. They also make you more confident and adaptable, qualities that are incredibly attractive. For example, you could challenge yourself to try one new thing each month. One month it might be a cooking class, the next a salsa dancing lesson, then maybe skydiving. Each of these experiences gives you something new to talk about and shows that you're adventurous and open to new experiences. Now let's talk about a more advanced technique, reverse psychology. This doesn't mean playing mind games, but rather creating a sense of mystery and challenge. Create scarcity. Don't always be available. Have a busy, fulfilling life that doesn't revolve around her. When you do spend time together, make it quality time. This makes your presence more valuable. Use the push-pull technique in communication. Show interest, then pull back slightly. For example, after a great conversation, you might say, "It's been great chatting with you. I've got to run now, but let's catch up again sometime." This leaves her wanting more. Become more mysterious and intriguing. Don't reveal everything about yourself at once. Let her discover different facets of your personality over time. This keeps things interesting and makes her want to know more about you. When you do see her again, approach with confidence and naturalness. Act as if nothing unusual has happened. You could say something like, "Hey, great to see you. I've been meaning to ask you about that new restaurant downtown. Have you tried it?" If she brings up the period of silence, don't make a big deal out of it. You could say something like, "Oh, I figured you were busy. I've had a pretty hectic few weeks myself. How have you been?" The key is to show that you're unbothered and have been living your best life, regardless of her attention or lack thereof. It's important to recognize when it's time to move on. If she consistently ignores you or shows no interest despite your efforts, it's time to redirect your energy elsewhere. Signs that it's time to move on include: she never initiates contact, her responses are consistently short and unenthusiastic, or she makes no effort to spend time with you. When you decide to move on, do it with grace and self-respect. You don't need to make a grand announcement. Simply stop initiating contact and focus your attention on other aspects of your life and on people who reciprocate your interest. Remember, moving on isn't a failure. It's a sign of self-respect and emotional maturity. It frees you to find someone who appreciates you and reciprocates your feelings. In conclusion, remember that your worth isn't determined by anyone else's attention or lack thereof. The most attractive quality is being comfortable and confident in your own skin. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Live an interesting life. Develop your skills and passions, and treat others with kindness and respect. When you do this, you become naturally attractive, and the right people will be drawn to you. Don't let being ignored define you or bring you down. Instead, use it as motivation to grow and improve. Remember Tom's story. Sometimes what seems like rejection can be the push you need to level up in life. Lastly, always treat women with respect. The goal isn't to destroy her ego, but to become so confident and self-assured that her ignoring you doesn't affect your self-worth. By following these strategies, you're not just learning how to handle being ignored, you're learning how to live a more fulfilling, confident life. And that, more than anything, is what will make you truly irresistible.